So firstly, I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who's joining us today. We've got Chief Commissioners, we've got International Commissioners, we've got board members, we've got lead staff members and some key volunteers from 14 of our different Asia Pacific member organisations joining us, as well as we've also got some of our Asia Pacific capacity assessment tool mentors. And we've also wanted to say a special welcome to our friend of Asia Pacific WAG's founder, Dato Johnson Yon, who is joining us for this session as well. So to start with there's so many global conversations currently taking place around racial injustice in the world, I thought I would start today's meeting with an Australian custom, and this is called an acknowledgement to country. And we do this at the beginning of all formal meetings or events here in Australia. So I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the many lands on which we are meeting across the Asia Pacific region and the globe today. For me, here in Sydney, this is the Eora people of the Gadigal Nation, and I would like to pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to any Indigenous people who are joining us here on the call today, and I ask each of you to take a moment to reflect on the Indigenous peoples of the country where you're located and joining us in this call. Before we jump into the rest of the webinar, I just wanted to ask anyone else who's joined recently to put themselves on mute, and also to let you all know that we're recording today. So we'll share this recording after the session on our YouTube channel so that anyone else who isn't here can also watch it back afterwards. This is a really difficult time for us globally, as the impacts on our member organisations is great, but also individually I know the impacts on each of us and our families is also really hard. So I wanted to take a special moment to acknowledge each of you who I know have been working tirelessly over the last few months to adjust, adapt and continue in very challenging circumstances. We hope that webinars like this that the Asia Pacific region is running acts as a means of support, but also as an opportunity for member organisations to connect and share and to learn from each other. As we've got limited time, as everyone's doing already, jump on into the chat and introduce yourself. And later on in the call, we'll have some time to do some question and answers. But we ask until we've done the two presentations from the speakers that will open up for question and answers then. So we've got two speakers in this webinar today, and the first is Sandy Thomas. Sandy Thomas is a lifelong advocate of girls and young women and a consultant focusing on global and multicultural projects. She served as the GSUSA Director for USA Girl Scouts Overseas from 1994 to 2010, managing a diverse team in 3 countries, serving 92 countries and 5 US territories. From 2010 to 2013, she served as the GSUSA Vice President, Global Girl Scouting and Strategic Alliances. Following a 40-year career in Girl Scouting, she served WAGs as a Global Development Consultant, member of the Rapid Response Team, and is currently the Capacity Building Team Volunteer Lead, and GSUSA as a National Volunteer Partner. Sandy will be presenting to us on crisis management today, including walking through the tools and resources which have been developed by WAGs for use by member organisations. Also joining us is Miss Beng Santiago and Miss Maria Dolores Santiago, or fondly called Tita Beng, is the National Executive Director of Girl Scouts of the Philippines, a position which she's held since 2005. She's 30 years of experience as a professional staff of the Girl Scouts of the Philippines. Prior to her appointment in her present position, Tita Beng was Assistant National Executive Director responsible for finance, human resource and administration. She's a certified public accountant and has graduate studies in public administration and governance at the University of the Philippines. Tita Beng will be sharing with us Girl Scouts Philippines' approach to crisis management during COVID. So we're going to jump in and we're going to start the presentation with Sandy first. Great. So let me just get the presentation up for you, Sandy.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be with you today, tonight, this afternoon, this morning, whatever. I apologize, I'm a little ghostly, but I have no light, and otherwise I have a fan on top of my head. So this is the best I can do. So again, looking forward to the opportunity to discuss this very trying time for our organization. And, you know, I know that each MO is at a different place in dealing with this crisis. Some of you are maybe at the beginning of assessing your strategy, and some of you may be in the middle of implementing or your revised plan. So I hope this will be a resource for you, whatever step you're in, and that we can discuss and help you move forward and be productive. And we know that crisis management is not a one-time shot, that it's really a circle. You're either in the prevention stage, or you're in the preparation stage, or you're in the execution stage. And this particular webinar deals with the execution stage. So let's look at the objectives that we're going to talk about today. Sorry. We're going to examine the impact of the unexpected situation that our member organizations are in. Hopefully gain a deeper understanding of your MO's position as a result of the unexpected external crisis situation. Determine immediate strategic initiatives or adjustments to address, and then to begin to identify a long-term strategy in alignment with the World Organization. So hopefully that's what we're going to be discussing today. So in doing this, one thing that we always remember is our promise to our girls. And I know we're very familiar with the mission of the World Organization, enabling girls and young women to develop their full potential as responsible citizens of the world. But especially in a crisis situation, we need to focus on our mission and stay mission focused, and not become what I call and allow mission creep to come into our organization. We need to stay focused on who we are, why we do what we do, and that we're for girls and young women. When we're in the throes of dealing with a crisis, we have to look at the ways to stay, to manage our continuity. And our first step is that we respond, and we just try to keep our feet on the ground. We look at the present situation and just try to cope as we can from the very beginning. Then as we move along, we try to get into a period of learning and emerging stronger. So as we go along, we learn what we've done right, what we've done wrong, what's working, what's not working, and how we can move and become still the strong organization that we are. And of course, we want to get to thriving, which is the period of preparing for and shaping the future. So if we keep this in mind, that some of us are still responding, some of us are in the recovery stage, and some of us hopefully are beginning to thrive. We'll talk about all these phases as we go through the presentation. So there's also good strategy and there's bad strategy, and we want to pay attention to that. In that, in a good strategy, we have a diagnosis. We have an explanation of the nature of the challenge, what our good diagnosis is, the situation, looking at it very carefully, and then thinking about our guiding policies, our approach of how we're going to overcome the obstacles that we've diagnosed. And then to take action, that the steps that are coordinated with one another to support the accomplishment of our guiding policy. And in a bad strategy, we're just doing. We're doing things. We're not thinking about why we're doing them. We're just doing activity after activity that really don't connect to anything. We don't have a strategy. we might have goals, but we don't have a strategy for where we're trying to get to. A long list of things to accomplish that fail to address the few critical issues or the root causes. And fluff, a form of gibberish that is masking really what is going on and the issues that we need to be addressing. So we want to pay attention to what is good strategy and what is bad strategy, and focus on a good strategy. And, okay, next slide. Yeah. And there are 5 key steps to progress from response to thrive. And we're going to talk about each one of these. So the first one is to gather a response team and how very critical that is. And we'll talk about that in a second. Reviewing our data and updating our data, what that looked like before, what that looks like now. Prioritizing our challenges and our responses. Our plan option for recovery, and acting promptly and communicating effectively and consistently. So let's look at the first one of those. Gathering a response team. And this is a very critical step in our process. The people that should be on your team are probably your lead paid staff, your chief commissioner, members of the board, but other critical staff and volunteers that are actually on the ground working, that know what's happening, that are very close in touch to what's going on in the field. Now, in this particular group, you want to make sure that you have people in the group that are decision makers, because you don't have time to go back and get approval for what you're trying to do. You want to have the people that can make the decision right there to move forward. So you want to have people that are good strategic thinkers, probably not the people that are emotionally charged and are very high strung, but these are people that are very focused. Not necessarily, this is not a popularity contest. These are people that you really need to be strong, focused, and help look at the situation, make an analysis, and help you move forward. And when you're meeting with the response team, you have to be mindful of your own personal well-being, just like the particular crisis that we're in. Are you, how are you
affected? Could we ask everyone to mute themselves, please?
Thank you.
And I might just mention as well, I can see some people madly writing notes down, that this presentation is available on the WAG's website as well. So people don't have to copy everything down. We can send it around after for everyone to have.
Right, great, thank you. To be mindful of where you are personally, you know, do you have someone that is affected by COVID-19? Do you have someone in your family or someone close to you? And really where you are in this whole thing. So you have to think about where you are as well, and be truthful about that. And also acknowledge those on your team, expressing empathy and compassion for where they are in this situation. We're all in this together in different places, and people have been affected in different ways. Set a calm, methodical approach. This needs to be someone that's really going to take the team together in a calm way to go through the waters and through this particular issue. Define the non-negotiables. I think that's very important, in that our mission is non-negotiable. Our safety for our girls and our volunteers is non-negotiable. And as we said earlier, our promise to our girls is non-negotiable. So that needs to be upfront and out in the open, that these are non-negotiable, but what is negotiable. And then building communications and your stakeholders engagement from the very beginning, in that the people that you are in communication with, the people that are your big funders or your strong volunteers, keep them in the loop. Let them know that you're moving forward. Let them know that you're working on this. Let them know that you have a team of people that are really looking at this in a strategic way, and that you're not just trying to throw things together, but that you're really putting a plan together to help to work that through. Okay. Review and update data. Now, I'm sure every MO has a different amount of data, but this is very important that you look at the information that you have. You update the data collection during your strategic planning process, and update what is supporting that data. We're going to talk about this in detail in each one of these areas: in membership, in volunteer support, program delivery, brand, finance, fund development, organizational structure, and external environment. But your data, it shows you what you had. That's okay, leave it right there. Your data shows you what you had before the crisis and what you have now. And so it gives you a clearer picture of what to deal with. As in membership, to be a little more in detail. Your overall girl membership, what does that look like? Are you in troops? Are you in troops? Are you in groups? How does that look now? How did that look before the crisis? How does that look now? What kind of alternative program delivery participation do you have? I'm sure most of you have a lot more online program than you did before. What does that look like? The percentage of girls that need financial support. I know in the United States, many more girls need financial support now because they may have, their parents may be out of work, or other issues have affected that. And your overall adult membership. So these are just the areas, some areas in membership to pay attention to in relation to your data, to gather that information. And then in volunteer support, the same thing. The number of volunteers that you had, are they troop, are they group leaders? What other kind of volunteers do you have? Do you have more volunteers now because you have people that are working on the internet that didn't do that before, that are now part of your group? Number of active alumni, how are they being used? Are they being used? Are they not being used? Are they being kept in the loop? And existing volunteer support. So how does all that look before? How does it look now? Okay. Program delivery, the number of programs offered by level, by type, virtual events, camps. Camps have been very tough. Number of programs canceled because of this and unexpected events. Programs that you're doing like Free to Be Me, the Yes program, Stop the Violence. Number of new virtual programs and unexpected events that you've had. And a list of properties by type. So all of that in relation to program delivery are part of the data that you want to collect. Now, I know some of you are going, there is no way we have all this information. But again, this is all a sample of what you can use. And all I'm saying is take the pieces that work for you and use them, and don't let this overwhelm you. Just use the pieces that work for your MO, and that the information that you can get and work from that. Some MOs will be able to do all of this. Some of this will be, they'll have to pick and choose what they can use and what kind of information they have. Brand and visibility, existing outreach programs, how are they working? Media outlets, social media resources, they should be increasing. And so having all that data at your fingertips as well, okay? Financial resources, program fees, we've lost a lot of that because of programs being canceled. Equipment sales, product sales, if you have a product sale, facility rental, philanthropy, product, I don't know why we have product sales, maybe we sell two different types of products, I don't know. Reserves, your portfolio, what does all that look like? Your fixed cost, your personnel, your insurance, your facilitator, I can't read the bottom of that, hold on a second. Does it say facilitator, I think, okay. Your fund development and philanthropy, Again, the number and amount of designated operating gifts that you have, the number amount of capital gifts you have, the number of planned gifts, your sources. How have all those changed during this? What did they look like before the crisis? What do they look like now? Your top external funders and the amount of last year's donation, your top donors and the amount of last year's donations, you know, and even to look at this and say, now, which funders, which people have not been able to, we've not been able to collaborate with before that we might be able to collaborate with now because of where we are. And it's always important to keep your funders in the loop because, you know, once you get off of the list of a funder, it's very easy to be replaced by someone else. So you want to make sure that you stay on top of your funders. Organizational structure, the number of part-time staff, the number of full-time staff. And let me just stop here and say, those of you that have staff, during a crisis like this, it is very important to do everything you can to keep the staff that you have. Staff is very hard to come by, and after they're trained, you know how much time and energy and even finances that takes. So we need to do everything we can to keep our staff while we're going through this particular crisis, rather than have to stop afterwards and rehire and do all that all over again. Your governing documents, when were they last visited or revised, your legal mandates, all of that information. And from an external environment standpoint, your schools, are they opening again? When are they opening again? Are they going to be virtual? How about your troop meeting sites? What's happened to them? Your existing social support, your safety net options, representatives in your community resources, what do they look like? Again, these are all different elements to look at when you're collecting your data. And you don't want to get so overwhelmed by your data that you have what we call analysis paralysis, that you have so much information you don't even know what to do with it. But these are just ideas of what to bring together to help you make a decision. So after you get that, you want to review your current data and then update it. And by updating, you want to, after you update it, you want to look at that and say, well, what are our current challenges? What is our updated data? What is our action plan going to be? What resources do we need? Who's going to be responsible? And what is our adjusted target date? What does that look like? So prioritizing challenges and responsibility in responses. What are the opportunities that we can capture? For instance, our internet access and the number of girls that we've been able to serve through the internet that we may not have served before. Particular outside venues that we've used that we haven't been able to use before. And deflect the threats. Like, you know, if you can't do something about it, don't thrive on it. Just keep going and keep moving. Do what you can with what you can. Evaluate your current plans in terms of feasibility. You know, what is realistic and what is not realistic. And are the elements in your plan that are no longer feasible? That's just not going to work now. It worked before the crisis, but there's no way that's going to work now. And if you can't do anything about it, as I said, just move on. Don't get stuck on it. And are there some factors that make your plan no longer feasible? Are there some factors that have a positive impact, like the internet and what we've been able to do with that? Maybe different funders that we haven't had. And some factors may not affect business in any way at all. Planning options for recovery. We have the data and the answers to where we are now. And now we need to look at where we want to be. And so this is a visionary. So if we think about the data that we have and where we are in relation to where we were before the crisis, where we are now, and we look and we say, where do we want to be in a month? What does that look like? And again, that's going to be some creativity, some imagining, but really realistically, in a month, what do we want to look like? In 3 months, what do we want to look like? In 6 months, what's realistic? And next year. The other reason for that is so that you don't get so overwhelmed by looking at a whole year, that really take it in small bites so that you can look at a month. What is that really going to look like? How can we move forward in a month? How can we move forward in 3 months, 6 months, a year? And then how will we get to where we want to get to? We can't predict the future. So again, we develop scenarios, X, Y, and Z. So scenario 1 is if we get the funding that we need and we're able to do, our girls aren't going back to school, so we're going to be able to serve our girls through the internet. What does that do to our membership? What does that mean that we need to have more volunteers that we train through the internet? How can we use our other volunteers that are regular troop volunteers? How can they be used? How can we have gatherings of different types? Just what does that look like? And then let's say that we only get half the funding. What does that look like? We can no longer use our troop meeting places. We can no longer, our girls are, and I think Ben will talk about this a little later, I'm sure, but our girls are served through the school. Our girls aren't going back to school. How do we do Girl Scouting when that is our particular issue? So coming up with those particular visionary ways of how we're going to do things a little differently and being prepared to make adjustments according to those. So again, our progression is from crisis to, and it's evolutionary. First we respond, we recover, but we want to get to thrive. That's where we want to get to. We don't want to get stuck in response. We don't even want to get stuck in recover. We want to thrive, and we want to be as strong or stronger. We may be a different organization, but we want to be as strong or stronger than we were prior to. Act promptly and communicate. And again, we talked about that a little bit, how important it is to communicate your plan to your key stakeholders internally and externally. Keep your membership aware of what you're doing and keep them involved, because one of my sayings is never do anything about me without me. So if they feel that they're a part of what you're doing, they're going to be more engaged rather than not feeling they have any input to what it is that's being done. And externally, you want people to know that you're strong, you're moving forward, you've got this, you're really working the system, and that you're not just standing there letting it happen to you, that you're making a strategic effort to move forward. Your communication should be prompt, effective, and consistent. Don't just communicate at the beginning and at the end. It needs to be all the way through. Again, you want everybody on your team and everybody moving with you. Update your plan and communicate as needed. Provide the opportunity for questions and two-way communication. Again, let people know that they have some input. Let them be a part when they can. And your communication has two purposes. You're going to inform your stakeholders and you're going to thank your stakeholders. And again, okay. But remember that we're all in this together. Effective and honest communication is key to building trust. Senior staff needs to trust junior staff. Senior volunteers need to trust younger volunteers. Volunteers need to trust staff. Staff need to trust volunteers. We need to do a better job of that. And we also need to remember that our world organization is only as strong as our member organizations. So if we all are in this together and are all aligned going in the same direction, we will come out of this as a much stronger member organization and as a world organization. You know, I keep saying that if we get all of our 10 million plus members going in the same direction at the same time, what a huge effect we could make on this world. And I think, you know, when we have a crisis, so many of our member organizations are doing such great work during this crisis. When when this was all happening, I'm thinking, oh, people aren't meeting, they don't have the funding they need to have, what are they going to do? And then I started being involved in a lot of the different webinars and Zoom meetings and regional meetings and listening to what the member organizations are doing. I was so proud of the work that's being done and how they're being involved in their community, supporting their community, helping their community. That's what we do. That's who we are. And that's exactly what we should be doing. So again, if we are all in this together, we're aligned with our world organization, we are moving in the same direction, have the same purpose, have the same, of course, our mission, and also the priorities of the world organization are aligned with our member organization, then we're all going to be much stronger for that. And of course, we always, to review our steps, our 5 key steps, that response team, and how important that is to have the right people on the right seats on the bus, to review that data, whatever data you can put together. The more data you have, the more information you have about where you are in reference to where you were before the crisis. Prioritize those challenges and responses. Don't get stuck on the ones that you can't do anything about. Plan your options for recovery. What are we going to look like in a month, in 2 months, and half a year, and a year? And act promptly and communicate effectively and consistently. But in everything we do, we never forget our promise to our girls, who we are, what we stand for, what our mission is, and don't let that mission creep come in. Okay, thank you. I'll take questions after a little later.
Yes, thanks so much, Sandy. And now we're going to jump over to Tita Beng, who is going to give us a presentation around crisis management and how Girl Scouts of the Philippines have applied the things that we've just heard from Sandy about. We can see your screen now, but I'm not sure if you're still on mute, Tita Beng. We can't hear you yet.
Yep, there
Great.
you go. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you very much. So let me just greet all the MOs who are joining us in this webinar. And of course, my pleasure to share with you the Girl Scouts of the Philippines experience in responding to the present crisis, of course, particularly the COVID-19 pandemic. But what I'd like to do first is to give you a brief profile of the Girl Scouts of the Philippines. The GSP was chartered on May 26, 1940. And this year, that makes us 80 years old. We have 1.1 million members. That's as of June 2020 in 96 councils from 6 regions, which are 98% school-based. The headquarters is based in Manila, and we have 6 regional offices and 167 paid staff. We also have 3 national centers and 5 regional centers. The central board is composed of 37 members, while the executive committee has 14 members. As in any crisis, survival is critical. And for organizations like the Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, financial capacity and sustainability in order to survive are at greater risk. How then do we keep our organization alive, resilient, and functioning? In the Girl Scouts of the Philippines, the immediate action in the early stages of the crisis was to reduce the levels of activities. As early as January of this year, we canceled and postponed several events that would entail mass gathering, such as the biggest campfire that would have gathered 55,000 Girl Scouts, adult leaders, volunteers, and staff at the Philippine Arena to celebrate GSP's 80th anniversary last May 22, and anniversary dinner on May 26 at the Philippine International Convention Center. We also canceled international camp that was supposed to happen last February because of the travel restrictions. Likewise, regional camps and national camp scheduled during the last quarter of the year have either been canceled or postponed to next year. All other activities that needed traveling and face-to-face encounters, such as regional meetings, have been canceled as well. Field visits to girl projects for the Chief Girl Scout Medal Award, Magic Spot Contest, and Pilar Hidalgo Lim Troop Achievement Award have all been canceled. Screening will be done through photos and videos, testimonies of stakeholders in the communities, and narrative reports. Award ceremonies are postponed to next year or until further notice. Virtual award ceremonies will be explored when necessary. Staying connected during crisis is very important. GSP created group chats of officers with the management staff and another group chat for the executive committee so that communication lines could be immediately accessible. Members of the senior staff have an existing group chat and it is being actively utilized for constant and fast communication. The officers and management staff became the crisis regional, and council levels to discuss strategies and action plans to be adopted in the new normal. Various standing committees have also been meeting regularly. An IT support team is in place to facilitate remote meetings and activities through web and video conferencing applications, like what we are doing now, while the communications team is in charge of managing GSP's various social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. It is also in charge of GSP's media partners. Digital magazines will be developed to replace printed magazines. Challenges are many during crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic will certainly cause a strain on the resources of the Girl Scouts of the Philippines, particularly on revenues derived from membership fees, as we anticipate at least 50% decrease in members. The scenario will surely hamper the normal operations of the organization. We reviewed our current income mix and have decided to do just a 6-month projection and budget, which is for July to December this year. Thereafter, we will assess how we have performed in terms of membership recruitment and other means of raising funds. The 6-month period will allow us to make plans on how we will move forward to the second half of the year and on to the new triennium. We will try to contain costs, review every item in the budget to consider what can be cut or reduced. We will make some reductions in specific areas rather than across the board. We will align our spending with mission-critical areas. Just a moment. Regarding paid staff, we are currently implementing a freeze hire policy. We have an ongoing review of the staff structure wherein we are identifying positions that we need to retain so as to continue the operation and program delivery of the organization during the pandemic. We have adopted alternative work arrangements during this time, such as compressed work week and work hours, as well as work from home or remote setup. We will also offer early or optional retirement program to some of our staff. Like we have identified already 10 staff or more than 10 staff who are eligible for optional retirement. Operations of the program centers will be suspended until December, subject to review to determine whether we need to extend or not. At the moment, all our centers are closed for operation, but we're keeping it for maintenance. Yeah. So with home-based schooling in both public and private schools nationwide, we project, as I mentioned, that membership will drop by at least 50% during the year. So with 1.1 million members, by the end of the year, maybe we will only have like 500,000, which is equivalent to 5,000 quota per council. So that's really a big drop. Another challenge is the limited internet access in many parts of the country. Activities for girls and training of adults is a big challenge because of health protocols that restrict face-to-face gatherings. When conducted virtually, access to reliable internet connections can be very problematic. This means that many of our girls will not be able to join online programs and activities. Looking at the brighter side, the Girl Scouts of the Philippines saw opportunities to organize something new and do things in a different and creative way. As mentioned earlier, this year marks the 80th anniversary of our beloved organization, and we could not let it pass without celebrating the milestone even in the midst of the pandemic. While we canceled big events, pardon, just a moment, there's technical glitch. While we canceled big events for this face-to-face celebration, we did not waste time in planning for virtual celebrations last May 23 to 29. The week-long event was spearheaded by no less than our young adult members of the program committee, some cadet Girl Scouts, and girl representatives to the central board from our 6 regions. These girls, who are all tech savvy and very much knowledgeable on various social media platforms, really did an amazing job in the successful and very creative celebration of our 80th anniversary. The anniversary culminated with an online national campfire. With the theme GSP at 80, One Family, One Mission, the Girl Scouts of the Philippines is holding on together to remain strong and ever vibrant. To be more visible and active, various virtual activities, events, and sessions were held. Our girls and adult volunteers also participated in WAG's events such as the World Center's virtual camps, Share the Light for her Digital World webinars 1 and 2, STV advocacy and girl-led campaigning, and online international festival. We launched the Fight COVID-19 Challenge badge last February to engage girls to actively participate in online activities along the GSP 8-Point Challenge program while they are at home. Session on mental health was offered during this time, part of the Fight COVID Challenge badge. Virtual training programs and webinars for adult members, leaders, and volunteers will also be offered to make sure that training will not be disrupted. We are organizing Digi-trainers coming from all the 6 regions to spearhead the digital and distance learning training for the adult members. Now more than ever, exploring membership in the communities is very much needed during these times when schools are closed and children are on homeschool program. Campaign for other membership categories such as associate members, TEFL guilds, and sustaining members will be intensified. Catholic guiding will be promoted extensively in Catholic and private schools. Membership teams at the council level will be doing more active campaigning for members, and online registration and payment is one strategy to be adopted. Another opportunity is to intensify or strengthen our networking with the Department of Education and the Department of Interior and Local Government. Support from these two government agencies will help us a lot in our program delivery during the pandemic. Other partner agencies in the government, non-government, and private organizations will also be tapped for support. The COVID-19 pandemic has posed a very serious challenge to the norms of our everyday life. Thus, to adapt to the new normal or new reality is the way to survive. The Girl Scouts of the Philippines is ready to adapt and cope, but shall remain focused on its purpose and top priorities. We will not waver in our commitment to the girls to offer programs that would enrich their lives and make them empowered and confident so that they are able to reach their fullest potential. Like the COVID-19 challenge for our girls, we in the Girl Scouts of the Philippines will change the challenge as one family with one mission. We will keep the flame of service ever burning and alive. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tito Bang. It was really helpful to be able to see the information that Sandy's provided and then see how Girl Scouts of Philippines have then put that into action and how you are coping with responding to COVID-19. I got to participate and see a lot of the amazing things you were doing during the anniversary celebrations.
Yeah.
And what I think was amazing and great to see was how many amazing young women you have who were taking the lead in that event.
They
and
are.
I think that has been one great opportunity out of COVID-19, I think, has been the opportunity for embracing and enabling the skills of young women that lots of us have in our member organisations, and to see them taking kind of leadership roles at a national level in supporting in the COVID response. And I know that that's been something a lot of other member organisations have been seeing happen as well.
So Bron, we'd like to thank all the MOs that participated or who joined us in the 80th anniversary celebration, especially during the campfire, the online campfire. And all the messages from the World Board Chair, from you, of course, and Dr. Juson Bune. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're now going to open up, since we've had our presentation, to question and answer session. So people, if you want to post questions into the chat, or if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, we'll start doing that now. Tito Ben, could you click stop sharing on your screen as well? Because that will help if we can, that's okay, see the people who are talking a bit more easily. So do we have any questions? And while maybe we're giving a moment or two for people to have a bit of a think, maybe Sandy, could you just explain the resources that are on the website?
Yes, do you have those? You can...
yeah, I can bring it up on the screen, and then I'm sure we'll get some questions in once we quickly show those.
Okay.
I'll bring up this one.
Yeah, so this is one of the resources from the capacity building group, communication in the time of crisis. And they're also going to be doing webinars for different MOs and different regions. So that is also available from our communications team. So that one's available. There's also one on fund development that has been created. Go ahead.
And I think in this one as well, right, this crisis management document, I think on page 5, you were saying there's a lot of questions that member organisations might like to use.
Right. These, can you scroll to that?
Yeah. Can you see it now on the screen?
No.
Can you see it now?
Not yet. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, this just has a lot of great questions to help you guide, as it says, guide your conversation. about the external environment, and it goes on down to have different areas, just questions that will get the discussion going. So this is a great resource for you, reaching and retaining more girls. So check this out on page 5 in the communication piece. Yeah, volunteer support. All right, good.
Great. We've got one question here that's come through from, I think it's from Inra, saying she wants to ask a question about the stress factor. Did you want to speak a bit more about that? Oh, I think you're on mute. We can't hear you. Now we can hear you now if you speak. Oh, no, we still can't hear. Did you want to type it into the question box maybe? That would be great. Was there anyone else while we were waiting for that question to come through in the chat that had a question either for Sandy or Ben?
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The biggest challenge, I think, all the MOs, including PGGA, is how to retain membership, as Sandy said, and how to manage the finances. Because if we offer early retirement or downsizing in the organization, then as you mentioned, it's very difficult to get new staff when the times come, the good times come. So the biggest challenge is the economic problem, the funding, how to manage the staff that we have, retain it. PGG is going through a very tough time at the moment, because the government has reduced our funding because of the pandemic. They had other more important things to do. So what do? We have downsized the staff, but it's very difficult. None of the staff is ready to leave at this time, and this will increase the unemployment also.
Yeah.
So this is one of the biggest concerns of PGGA at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. That is, funding is going to be one of the critical issues. And like Ving said, the Girl Scouts of the Philippines, what they have done is they're having staff work fewer hours. Some organizations are having staff work fewer, like 3 days rather than 5 days. And, they may be making a smaller salary, but at least they're still have a job. And then when things pick back up, then you still have them, and that can increase. But the other thing I heard Ben said was that is also important. If you're going to lose half your membership, then you don't need the size of staff that you had. And it's also going back to that data collection is, what are your priorities going to be? What are the programs going to be? If all your camps are closed, do you need a camp director? That you just need to look at what it is you have, what your program is going to look like, and what the new normal is, whatever that's going to be for you, and what your priorities are, what your programs are going to be, and who you need and who you don't need. And that is very tough, especially when you have longtime personnel that have been involved in the organization for years. Again, the Girl Scouts of the Philippines are asking, are allowing some to retire early, and it's a tough time, and it's a tough decision. But if the other thing I would say is to be very vigilant about looking for funders that might be interested in helping you at this particular time when they weren't. Either they were helping you before and they might give more. There could also be grants out there that you can look for. There are grants, a lot of grants now for girls and young women. And I would look for those and be very vigilant in applying for grants. And the best thing you're going to have to do is work on your strategic plan and your priorities and see, unfortunately, who you need and who you don't need.
Thank you.
Good
We have
morning. This
Darshana, do you want to go ahead?
this is my question for GSP, because even they are school based and we are school based, and schools have been suspended till God knows like when we are going to come back and have schools. The school portion has been calibrated so that they can just have few chapters. So they haven't kept any place for our activities like the scouts and guides. So is there any kind of the strategy that GSP is working out so that the schools can come in and register themselves for the financial year, or anything that is working on their educational end?
Just the clarification, what exactly is the question? I'm sorry.
What is happening is, because the schools are not working physically, they're all online, right? Digital classes are going on.
Mm-hmm.
And what is happening is none of the activities are school based anymore. Like there is no scouting guiding period, no time for the children to do this activity, physical activity. So how do we still work out with them?
Yeah, we have virtual activities, online programs for girls, and we invite them to participate. So they're joining from home. They can do the activities. It's all online and virtual. Facebook.
Outside of school, right?
Yeah, it's outside of school. Yeah. But also internet connection is a challenge, but I think we're going there because the schools will provide tablets and internet for many parts of the country. Maybe not all, but the local governments are helping. So everything is virtual now. There's no face-to-face. We're not allowed because schools are as we mentioned,
So
closed.
when you also said that the memberships are going to reduce by 50%, so is there any strategy there?
We will still keep
just
campaigning for
revolving.
members. We will still do membership campaigns. We have organized membership teams at the local level, and of course we have staff at the council level who will do. And mothers, community women will also be asked to help in the registration of girls. In fact, there are already some who are registering online. We're getting some registration now. The critical, maybe the challenge is how we will really campaign for membership at the grassroots level. We're saying 50% because we have more or less, we have 96 councils, and the membership quota for each council is at least 5,000. And during our virtual meetings with the regions, they were saying that, and they are, they promised that they can recruit or get at least 5,000 girls for the year. And that's why we're doing just a 6-month budget, because registration will start maybe September, October. So by December, we would know if we will hit the target of at least 5,000 per council. We cannot do long term as of now. No, we just have to see what will happen at the end of the year.
Yeah, I would definitely take the opportunity to find the advocates that you've always had in the school system, to sit down and talk with them, because they're struggling with this as well. And I think that to be able to have a program like Girl Guiding, Girl Scouting, to help them support the teachers are struggling. They need information, they need programs, they need activities, and to be able to partner with them to keep their education system strong. I think, you've always had a great partnership. I think it's an
Yes.
opportunity to sit down with them and work together.
Yeah.
On
You're right, Sandy.
yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
how to keep that going.
One question, you said 5,000 is the target now. So what
Per
was the target
council.
earlier?
5,000 per council.
Now or
Yes,
earlier?
that's actually the quota, the minimum quota for each council.
So
In
is
order
it
to be a council, you
or
have to
is
have
it same?
5,000.
Yeah. Well, it was more than 5,000 before the COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
actually we
Yeah.
had 1.1 million
Total.
as of June. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
So
dear.
I might thank you for your questions, Darshana. I might go to that. We have a question from Chada from Thailand who asks for Tita Bang, seeing that you came up with lots of response teams for coping with the crisis, I was wondering about the IT support team, what kind of support they gave and how we can recruit a team like that.
We have actually a management information system section at the headquarters. So basically, they are the ones helping us put up all the technology. But for virtual activities of the girls, the online activities, the girls themselves are our experts. They put up all these activities. They did all the programs every day. I mean, day-to-day program, and they did it themselves with of course support from our IT team at the national headquarters. The girls can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tap your girls for technologies like this because they're more, I mean, updated with technologies.
These are other also opportunities for new funders that maybe have not been funders for your organization before with, with internet capabilities and all the technological, not only funders, but people on your committees and people that will volunteer for you that haven't been part of your team before.
Thank you. We've got another question here that was sent through, which says, I guess COVID was certainly a very different kind of challenge, and initially the fear factor was huge, the mental stress. So I was really worried about loss of job, no income coming in, and mental health is a really serious issue, and asking whether there's any comments on that. This is a question from Pakistan.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Sandy.
No, I was just going to say that's part of the response part.
Yes.
Where you're first just trying to figure out what's happening with you personally, what's happening with your family, and how you keep things going as simply, really, to begin with, so that things just don't fall flat. It is about the momentum and keeping it going, keeping yourself going, keeping your family going, keeping the school system going, keeping the Girl Guide program going. What is it you can do piece by piece to keep that snowball building?
Yeah. We had this COVID-19 challenge badge, and one of the activities was to invite resource persons that could share a session on mental health. So that was very good. And other organizations that we are partnering with, they are also offering mental health sessions, because we realized that during these times, psychological health or mental health is really at risk.
Right.
So, yeah.
And, as we said, this is not the last, well, we'd love for it to be the last crisis we ever face, but it won't be. But what we've learned from this crisis and how we build our crisis communication plan, hopefully it'll be stronger next time, so that maybe we don't have as long a response time that we can go into the next step, so that we can be acting more than just responding if we have a good, strong crisis communication plan. We have some of that already in place.
yeah, how do we take
Yeah.
and learn from the things we've experienced so far and use them ahead into the future and make sure that we're even more coordinated and prepared for what might still be coming our way, whether that's in relation to COVID or new challenges that might emerge in the future.
Yeah.
We've got another question here from Chada. I'm not sure. She said, talking about the virtual toolkit, was it developed by each MO or are they available from WAG? So maybe could you comment, Sandy, about the crisis management resources and how they were created, but then I'll give a bit of context to the other resources that are also available on the website.
Yeah, all the crisis management toolkits were developed by the capacity building team. So that came across to all MOs in a WAG's email, and all those are listed there, and we're still creating them, so there's still more to come. But sure, they're created by the ones I know about, and the ones we talked about are from the capacity building team, but they're to be adapted by every MO for their own needs. You know,
yeah,
so if you needed to take this particular webinar and adapt it to show to your MO, you can adapt it in any way that fits your need.
Yeah, they were all sent through via email from WAGS, but they're also on the WAGS website. But there's also a space on the WAGS website as well where different member organisations have shared their own programs or resources that they've had in their own country. And it's called For Her Digital World page on the website. And in there you can see all kinds of different COVID challenges or programs or different things that different member organisations around the globe have been doing in response to COVID. And if you have something that as a member organisation you'd like to share, please reach out and we can organise to get it up onto the website as well.
That's so important during this time, is to share what we're doing. You know, there's no reason in keep reinventing the wheel. And when we can post what we're doing and listen to, you know, like the Girl Guides of the Philippines and what they're doing and learn from that, we can learn from each other. We can learn from each other's mistakes, and we can learn from each other's successes, and we need to do that.
There's a comment here from Pakistan Girl Guide Association saying they shared bite-sized videos on different topics covering mental stress, career choices, 21st emerging careers, and they're having online awareness campaigns by all chapters and from the national headquarters, and have different WhatsApp groups of guides and guiders to share access and information through that way, because internet access is a challenge, but WhatsApp is something that people are regularly using. So I think it's about also thinking about the channels that are in use in your member organisation as well, and it might not be the same for everyone, and not everyone might be able to do online guiding Zoom calls, but like we're sharing there, it might be through WhatsApp or through Viber or Facebook or all different ways that different member organisations might like to be able to connect and share with their members.
You know, and I really think this whole internet with the children having to go to school through the internet, you know, how can we reach those children that we've never been able to reach before through the internet? You know, where are they going to get in touch with the school system, or to do their work on? Are they going to a library? Are they going to a building? Are they going, where are they working from home? But how do we get in touch with them, and how do we get them involved in the organization? And it might be easier for them to be involved in our program now than it was before, when they couldn't actually get to a meeting. So I think being creative about that and trying to reach out to those children, those girls, would be an opportunity as well.
I might open it up for one or two more final questions. Was there anyone else on the call that wanted to ask a question that hadn't had the chance yet? And we've got an update in the chat there from the Cook Islands as well. And no worries if you arrived late, we've recorded this session, so we'll put it up onto our YouTube channel and share that with everyone as well, so that you can watch it back for those that joined in at different points in time. So if we've got no more questions, I'd just like to thank everyone so much for being able to join us today, but particularly to Sandy and Tita Bang, who spoke and prepared these presentations and have been working very hard to make sure they had the relevant information and things that would be helpful and useful, but also Sandy and her capacity building volunteers that are working around the clock in preparing all of these different resources and tools on a lot of different topics. As she mentioned, there's lots more to come and more webinars that we're working on to share with the Asia Pacific region over the next few months. The next webinar we'll be having for the Asia Pacific region is in 2 weeks and will take place on August the 8th. And that one will be around membership recruitment and retention, and will be from 6 to 8 a.m. UTC, so whatever time that is in your country where you're joining from. And we'd encourage people to register for that by the 5th of August. And the kind of people that might be interested in attending are volunteers or staff who have that kind of focus on membership recruitment and retention for the member for your organisation. So with that, we might, you go ahead, Sandy.
Can I just say one other thing, please? I think, you know, we're a volunteer organization, and I think you're really seeing the strength of our volunteer movement and how we're all having to step up and do the work that we love to do for our organization. But I also have to give a shout out to the WAG staff. They are working their tails off. And doing 2 and 3 jobs. And I think that, you know, we need to be very appreciative of the work that they're doing and what they're, you know, having to go through with this whole process. So we're in this together, and we'll come out a stronger member organization when we all stick together and for the organization that we love.
Yeah, and I guess some final words from us is that also as a regional committee, we're here to support you and can point you in the right direction of volunteer support you might need from the capacity building team. We also have, there's a request that you can put in if you have some specific support needs that you need, and we can look at how we might be able to address those. And then in the next few weeks, we'll be sharing like an updated regional action plan of what we'll be looking to do for the rest of this year, as well as reaching out to each member organisation to conduct a survey to talk through what your current situation looks like. And we'll be doing this globally with member organisations to kind of take a second look at, when we spoke to you all a few months ago, where we are now and what are the things that we need to keep doing to make sure we're supporting all of member organisations as we move through this all together, as Sandy said. So I might finish up. Thank you all so much for joining, and we'll be in touch via email, but also hope to see you all again at our next webinar on the 8th of August.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, stay safe, everyone.
Yes, stay safe.
Stay safe.
Bye, Sandy.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.